I'm speaking with Dr. Howell from the Milwaukee School of Engineering, and wanted to just ask you a couple of brief questions about the outstanding work that you're doing there with servant leadership. And I thought maybe we could start, if you could just give me a little bit of a summary of how you got started with the servant leadership program, and just kind of a general overview, maybe a couple minutes of that.
Yes, about 7 years ago, we were approached by the Susan and Richard Pieper Family Foundation. They asked if we would apply for an endowment so that we could start an Office of Servant Leadership at Milwaukee School of Engineering. And I think along with 8 other schools, we applied and were graciously gifted the first endowment so that we could help create an Office of Servant Leadership at MSOE. And so that pays for part of my salary so that I can help head up the work we do in servant leadership, and it also provides fiscal resources for the various projects that we create. The Office of Servant Leadership really provides a number of things for our students. We introduce servant leadership theory, both inside and outside of the classroom. We create some infrastructure for our students. We'll help them network with people on campus and in the community so that if a student has an idea or sees a need that they want to help meet, then we can help them exercise their leadership skills as they go through the process of affecting change in their community.
Fantastic. So the program is focused primarily on helping the students develop their servant leadership skills. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's different from the service learning model that I think is exercised at most universities. Certainly we will provide service opportunities for our students, but I'll lean hard on student organizations, fraternities, and sororities to provide those service venues. What we try to do is really create leadership opportunities through the model that was defined by Robert Greenleaf. But because Greenleaf coined servant leadership as, first you serve, then you lead, out of that natural inclination to both serve and lead, we try to do it in that staged approach. So if we can have students first engage in service opportunities, then create a reflective opportunity for them to realize what they learned from serving others as well as themselves, then we can repurpose that information, that knowledge, that experience in leadership opportunity.
You've been doing this 2 years now, is that correct?
Actually, I've been serving as chair for 5. I'm the second chair. I think we've had the endowment for 8 years now.
Oh, okay. You had sent me some research via email, and so that research was just over the last 2 years, correct?
Well, yeah, I sent you the 2 most recent reports, kind of to demonstrate the work that we're having, or the impact we're having on our community, on campus and off campus. We've been conducting a longitudinal ethnographic research project, just wrapping up our 4th year on that. And the question that we're trying to answer is, how is servant leadership impacting Milwaukee School of Engineering? We opted to use ethnography as a tool so that we can really get a sense of how the culture of our institution is changing as a result of the Office of Servant Leadership. So we're using surveys, field observations, and interviews to track the impact servant leadership is having on our community. So that, and then, of course, just exercising servant leadership as much as we possibly can, knowing that if we do this, if we have more people in our community exercising their humanity, then that's going to have an overall effect on the institution.
Great. So you had mentioned that you're measuring some of the impacts that the servant leadership program is having on MSOE and perhaps even on the community to some degree. Just anecdotally, do you have a couple that kind of stand out to you, some things that are real noticeable in some of the changes you've seen in the culture, or specifically like within student organizations or student life, student engagement? Are there some examples that kind of stand out to you as to how the culture has improved on campus that can be linked pretty directly to servant leadership?
Yeah, the examples are numerous. I think we're running about 20 different projects right now. Some of the projects come from community partners that have defined needs. At other times, they'll come from students who come up with an idea or recognize a problem that needs resolution. One such example would be Matt Peterson, who is getting his bachelor's and master's degree in architectural engineering and construction management. When Matt started his junior year in the fall of 2011, he came to me and said that he wanted to be more involved in school. He wasn't doing very well academically. I don't think he'd mind my saying that. And he really wanted to kind of step up his game. And he felt that if he would get more involved in exercising his architectural engineering skills for the benefit of someone other than just his coursework, it might have a larger effect on him as a person. So initially we got him involved in the leadership for our student organization for the United Way. We have a United Way student chapter on campus. And through that role, he was able to meet people who work at the United Way and people who work with the United Way to benefit the Milwaukee community. I think that was a really good start because there's so many people who have major impact, who will exercise the very tenets of servant leadership, even if they don't know what servant leadership is. So that was a good starting place for Matt. He also attends a Catholic parish in town. I think it's Three Holy Women, I think is the name of it. And one night when he was at church, he heard some missionaries from northern Uganda talk about their life in Padibe, Uganda, northern Uganda, and their desire to improve their community as a result of the devastation from the civil war that took place there, and how they needed a building to store a sunflower press. They told them about how sunflowers grow like weeds in Uganda. You can harvest sunflowers 3 times a year, and if they had a press, then they could get oil from the sunflower seeds. That would be a green and renewable source of energy for the community. It would also be a source of a product that they could sell to neighboring communities, and with the dollars from those sales, send their children to school. And by providing education for their children, change the whole village of Padibe. So Matt got very excited about the idea of creating a building for the sunflower press. He came to me with this idea. He wanted to know if we could work with his parish to make this happen. And for me, that was a good day. It's always a good day when students come into my office and with an idea, with a problem that they want to help solve. So we met with people from his parish. We found resources on our campus. We found other people who wanted to have an impact in this part of Africa. And we worked together to bring together a project, the first phase of which took place in the spring of 2012. Matt went over there with another student, Andrew Moore. Andrew is a software engineer, because the village also had a computer kiosk that had been broken into and devastated, so they wanted us to bring some more computers. We worked with relatives of the students, other community partners, found some dollars in the budget for Office of Servant Leadership, and shipped over 12 computers for the kiosk. That was a nice early impact because it was really easy to create the new kiosk and kind of recreate it so it's a more secure environment. So the community is able to see that we could actually deliver on our promises. Matt also did some 3-dimensional modeling of the building that they wanted to construct for the sunflower press. He sat down with the village leaders and explained his vision for the project, which was very empowering for him because on this trip he wasn't just a student of architectural engineering. He was the engineer. which for him was really exciting because he was able to demonstrate what he was learning in his curriculum in the classes for the benefit of these people he was just meeting for the first time. They got really excited. They scouted out various locations. They did soil samples of the various locations and made a decision for the build of the site and came back to the United States with those soil samples. They're now in the process of creating the foundation for the building. By the time we go back in May of 2013, most of the building will be finished. The church has since been able to fundraise for the sunflower press itself, which is being shipped from India, which is no small feat. It's about a $25,000 machine. But because we're putting the building in, it was easier to fundraise for the sunflower press. Of course, this whole model kind of works under the idea that it's better to teach a man how to fish than to just give him a fish. I'm destroying that parable. But, you don't want to just give them resources. You want to provide resources that they can then turn into an ongoing source of revenue, a source of empowerment. Right. Because of Matt's decision to do this work in northern Uganda, he's enabled several faculty members to participate in these trips, other college students. He's recruited several of his peers in the architectural engineering and construction management program to go along on the second trip. So his ability to listen effectively, to empathize with the people in Uganda, has really enabled him to create community around this problem that he wants to help solve. He also has a great deal of vision for this initiative and for this community. For his master's degree, he wants to design and build a community center in the village of Petibe. So right now it's starting out with one building for the sunflower press. It's going to grow from there because we're really growing our relationship with these people in this part of Africa.
That's incredible. So I was actually going to ask you about people who were already in student leadership positions who might have seen some type of increase in student engagement as a result of applying servant leadership, but this was a story of a student who wasn't in any type of leadership position, but created a leadership position just out of serving and became a leader of what sounds like a pretty incredible project that's now involving other students and staff members. So that's a great story. And
it's great because one thing I like about servant leadership is anybody can be a leader. It really kind of destroys that whole sense of scale. Somebody who does work with their roommate can have as much impact as someone like Matt, who went halfway across the world to reach out to people who had a defined need. But I think a lot of the work involves recognizing that need and then thinking of a solution, then doing something about it, and then celebrating the achievement of your work. That's kind of the four-stage approach that we try to exercise in all of our projects. I also think it works well at our institution because we are a school of engineering. Our students tend to like to see things get done.
Right.
And so, because to be honest, my background is in the liberal arts. My degrees are in English. So to work with these students that really want to get their hands dirty, to get involved, it's a really good fit. I think that might be one of the reasons why the Pieper Foundation decided to bless us with an endowment.
I imagine, yeah, because there's skills that are definitely in need. Where you've got people with engineering skills, it's something that can easily be applied, where they can be learning and helping at the same time.
Well, and I want my students to understand that, education is power, and they're going to have the ability to pursue gainful employment upon graduation, but there's so much more they can do with this education, with this degree. When I like stories about, Matt or my student Jeff, who put a computer lab in Cameroon, or the Engineers Without Borders chapter that's creating bridges in schools in Guatemala, or the work we're doing in Haiti or the Dominican Republic or Panama or China. We're having this kind of global reach, and it's enabling our students to understand that their ability to become subject matter experts in their discipline can be coupled with their humanity for the benefit of themselves and for others. And it doesn't have to be in another country. It doesn't have to be in the developing world. It can be in downtown Milwaukee. It can be on our own campus.
This is inspiring. This is a little bit more than I expected, actually. I wasn't expecting to hear a first story of a student in Milwaukee impacting people halfway around the world.
Well, I think it's very, it's a reciprocal model. Matt's able to work with Rob Goodman, who is a parishioner at his church, and Rob is a good man with a good heart who knows how to get things done. So there's a lot of learning that takes place there. Matt's able to bring together his faith community and his academic community to make something happen. I think that that's very important. Andrew Moore happened to be Matt's friend, and even though he's a software engineer, we figured out a way to get Andrew into the project. Now that Andrew had this experience in Uganda, he wants to do work for a community outside of Mexico City. Dr. Deanna Leitsky, who teaches Matt in architectural engineering, wants to go on the next trip, which is a really big jump for her because she's never been outside the United States. So just applying for a passport and getting the necessary inoculations to go to Africa is a big part of her learning curve as a member of the faculty. I like it when students make decisions to affect change to have a ripple effect on the staff and faculty of the university. It's that type of bottom-up approach that you hear about, but I'm witnessing it every day of my life.
Yeah, where the actions of the students are then actually leading to further education for the staff.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And Deanna, Professor Leitsky, has been doing good work in Milwaukee. There's one community partner in particular that she's been helping, Blue Lotus Farm and Retreat Center. They kind of make summer camp happen for kids with mental and physical handicaps. So she's been working with them over the last 4 years, creating an 1,800 square foot deck and a gazebo and a dock so that these kids will be able to enjoy that facility more. Of course, it's also an educational opportunity for MSOE because Professor Leitsky will bring her surveying class out there, and they'll be able to survey the area. She'll work with other classes that will then be able to design and build the decking. So a lot of it, we're trying to integrate it into the curriculum as much as possible. Last year, we were even able to create a course in African history where the students learned a great deal about East Africa and then went to Kenya where they were able to put a water cistern in for a local school and hospital. The same professor who made that happen, Dr. Carrier, then created another course in Latin American history and teamed up with our Engineers Without Borders chapter to go to Guatemala and do some surveying of the local community so that they can figure out the best way of implementing an above-ground watering system. It's one thing to learn about Central America in the classroom. It's another thing to go to a country like Guatemala and meet the people of Guatemala and have them explain to you the history of this place and to see the mass graves that are hidden for political reasons. And this stuff is just happening exponentially. And we're finding more and more fiscal resources. We're finding more and more people that want to do this work. It's making Milwaukee School of Engineering, for me, a very exciting place to exercise my profession.
This is fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share a little bit about what's going on. This is definitely more than I expected to hear. I had no idea of the global reach that's being created as a result of the Servant Leadership Program. So this is fantastic. Thanks so much for your time.
Okay. But you have my contact information. Let me know how it can be a resource for you in the future, okay?
Great. Thanks so much.